Hi folks, welcome to today's video. We are going to be talking about campaign finance, and this is for notes 3.9 for unit 3. So we are going to be talking about a couple of things today. I need you guys to buckle up and bear with me. Campaign finance is not necessarily the easiest topic, but it is an important one because it is a part of our political system. So goals for this video. In this set of notes, we are describing the purpose of a PAC, and we'll talk about what a PAC is, comparing PACs and then super PACs, and describing the difference between soft money and hard money. And throughout this video, we're going to talk about these terms in context of some legislation and some Supreme Court cases that will rule on campaign finance. So as an introduction here, folks, I have a quick quote that I would like you guys to pause this video and analyze. So it says, there are two things that are important in politics. The first is money, and I can't remember what the second one is. This was actually said by Senator Mark Hanna in 1896, so much, much different even back then. But what I want you guys to think about is, what is the implication of this quote? What does it mean in regards to, campaigning and money and politics? So pause the video and answer this question. And then as we are going through this set of notes, guys, I want you to think about in the back of your mind these questions as well. You don't have to answer them, but just think about them. Who should be able to give money to a campaign? Should it be individuals, foreign countries, businesses, corporations? Should there be a limit or not? Should there be a limit on how much money can be given to a candidate? What is, or should I say, a candidate be limited in how much they give to their own campaign? So those are the questions that we are going to kind of explore as we move through this. Now, I want to talk about campaign finance basics, going through a couple of foundational terms here. Now, money and politics are going to become entangled in the late 19th century, in the 1800s, when people are going to try to find a way to influence and reduce the federal government's regulations, especially when it comes to money and commerce. So we're going to see businesses start to kind of their hands into politics a little bit more. Now, regulations are going to come about in the early 1970s. And the 1970s, we have a couple of things going on. Think about the 1970s, we're seeing new technologies for the first time outside of the radio, right? So now campaigning involves television ads, and that has just skyrocketed since then. So the cost of campaigns has increased dramatically starting in the 1970s. And then also, again, we go back to, Nixon a whole lot here, but Watergate was happening and unfolding, and that's going to reveal just how much money was going through the campaign process and the corruption that was happening because of that money. So Congress is going to pass a law called the Federal Election Campaign Act, or FECA, of 1974. And this is going to establish modern campaign finance rules and regulations. And FECA is going to regulate something that we call hard money. Okay, hard money. So these contributions are direct contributions to a candidate and their campaign. You can think of like hard and direct. Those two things go together. So an example here, let's say that I run an ad. I'm running for office, and my ad says, I am a good person. Mr. Funk is a bad person. Vote for me on election day. Because of that vote for me portion, this is a political ad. It's directly contributing to my, as the candidate, campaign. So this must be paid for with hard money. This is hard money because this is a direct contribution to the campaign itself. Now, the Federal Election Campaign Act is going to create the Federal Election Commission, or the FEC. And that's, agency's responsibility is to monitor and enforce the regulations of FECA. And some of those regulations are as follows. Individual donors are prevented from giving more than $1,000 to any federal candidate. So you as a person cannot donate more than $1,000. That will increase since the 1970s, but back then it was $1,000. And it's also going to prevent political action committees, or PACs, from donating more than $5,000 in each election. And we'll spend a few moments talking about PACs here in a second. Now, something else that the FEC is trying to regulate are a candidate's own contributions to their campaign. FECA tried, and I have tried here in asterisks because it doesn't work, as we'll see in a bit. They tried to limit a candidate's own contributions to their campaign to $50,000 per election, right? So saying that a candidate cannot donate to their own cause beyond $50,000. FECA also said that campaign donations must be disclosed to the FEC. So there is actually open record of all donations made to candidates via websites like Open Secrets and things like that, which we'll look at in class. And FECA also outlines that contributions from foreign entities, foreign countries, are prohibited. Now, let's talk about PACs here. PACs are groups which raise money to donate to political candidates. So individuals can join PACs. Typically, PACs are formed to represent businesses, labor unions, ideological interests by individuals who wish to privately raise money to donate to a political campaign. Now, we're going to see a rise in PACs, the importance of PACs, due to the limits placed on those individual donations to campaigns from FECA. So PACs kind of come to light and gain prominence in the 1970s. PACs are more influential, I would say, in congressional campaigns, and we'll talk about why when we talk about Congress, but they are also influential in the presidential and the federal level. And again, just like with individual amounts donated, PAC amounts must be disclosed to the FEC as well, according to FECA. Now, in 1975, just a year after FECA was passed, Buckley versus Valeo is going to be kind of the first challenge in the court system to this law. They're going to argue that the law is unconstitutionally limiting free speech. And you might be thinking, wait, campaign donations, free speech, how do those go hand in hand? We'll talk about that. The Supreme Court, is going to uphold most of FECA. It's going to say that $1,000 limit on individuals and $5,000 on PACs does not violate free speech guarantees. So Congress can limit those individual donations to a campaign and PAC donations to a campaign. However, the Supreme Court is also going to rule that Congress cannot limit a candidate's donation to his or her own campaign. So that $50,000 limit that they tried to put into place is unconstitutional. A candidate can donate as much of his or her own money as they want to their campaign, right? There's nothing stopping them from shoveling in their own money. And the campaign can raise and spend as much as it deems necessary. So there's no limit on how much can be raised. The court cited this in terms of why this donation is free speech. Limiting the amount one can spend restricts the amount he can say, right? So the court was basically saying, like, if a candidate wants to spend his or her own money to get their ads out there, right, limits on that is going to restrict their speech, so to say. So really the bottom line of this, free speech includes individual campaign contributions as symbolic speech, right? It's not actually saying anything, but it is a symbol of your beliefs by donating money to a campaign. Now, the impacts of this, because of this ruling, we see two loopholes emerge. And the reason for these loopholes is that FECA only covers that hard money going directly to and from a candidate and their campaign. So one of the loopholes that we are going to see is soft money, the rise of soft money. These are donations made to a party, a political party or interest group, rather than a candidate. And because the FEC and FECA do not require soft money to be disclosed and regulated, it is therefore unlimited. So there is unlimited amounts of soft money that can be put into place. This use of soft money donations is going to escalate after Buckley versus Valeo and that ruling. And ultimately, just something to keep in mind here, guys, money cannot be used directly on the candidates, but to inform voters of issues. So when we say that they're making donations to a party or interest group, right, they're trying to inform voters of issues, maybe inform voters of the opposite candidate and what they, are against or for, to try and persuade voters. So an example here, let's say that, again, I'm running. I run an ad that says, Mr. Funk has a record that includes awful things. If these awful things continue, people will come to your house, steal your money, and shoot your dog. Be sure to vote on election day. Now, nowhere in here does it say vote for, right? All this is doing is educating, right? And I know that that's a broad term, educating people on an issue. It doesn't tell them to vote for or against a particular candidate. It's party building, right? I'm trying to encourage people, inform voters of the issue of the opposite candidate, so that way they might vote for me. And that can be paid for by soft money. The other loophole that we see is independent expenditures. And independent expenditures are money spent on behalf of a candidate by citizens not affiliated with his or her campaign, right? That's what it means. Independent spending. Okay. This is also unlimited as long as spending is not officially coordinated with a campaign. So as long as they're not, working with the campaign, working with groups that are associated with the campaign, independent expenditures are unlimited. Now, that is bringing about some controversial things, but we need to flash forward into 2002 with the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act. This is also called the McCain-Feingold Act, after McCain and Feingold, the senators that put this bill forward. And it was bipartisan, meaning that it was both parties were writing and ultimately passed this bill. What this law tried to do was ban soft money contributions to national parties, right? So no more would you have those unlimited spending on parties and interest groups for party building, so to speak. It also increased the limits on hard money donations as a result. So because we're banning soft money, they said, okay, we'll increase those hard money donations. So $2,000 from individuals, adjusted for inflation, that money is now up to $2,800. But that ultimately said individuals can give $2,800 directly to a candidate and their campaign. The Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act also prohibited PACs, corporations, and nonprofit agencies from paying for electioneering communications, and that's broad. That can be advertisements, documentaries, things like that, on radio or TV using campaign money within 60 days of a general election and 30 days of a primary. So it's trying to prevent, some of that soft money, some of those PACs from getting in at the last minute and, throwing in a bunch of money and swaying the election that way. And this is also going to try and increase transparency when it comes to campaign finance. So we end up seeing this kind of stand by your ad requirement, where candidates were required in their ads to explicitly state, I'm insert candidate name here, and I approve this message. And that's something that we, kind of obviously still hear today in our advertisements as well, right? But the idea was, right, transparency. Where is the money coming from? Is it explicitly hard money, or is it soft money coming from other donors? Now, Citizens United versus the FEC is one of your required court cases. So Citizens United is a conservative nonprofit. And they are going in 2008 try to air and advertise a film called Hillary the Movie that was critical of the Democratic candidate at the time, Hillary Clinton. shortly before that primary. So she wasn't the actual candidate. She was vying for the candidate spot. Now, because of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, they were prevented from doing so because this was in violation of that 30 days that we saw electioneering materials cannot be distributed. The ruling, though, when this went to the Supreme Court, actually was pretty shocking to the country. What the Supreme Court ruled was that the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act, specifically this part of nonprofits, corporations, businesses being prevented from using funds to distribute this type of material, that was in violation of free speech. And ultimately, what it said was that corporations, labor unions, and organizations can use these funds, their funds, at any time to endorse and denounce a candidate, provided that they're not coordinated with a candidate. So they have to be independent expenditures, right? They cannot be in cahoots with the candidate themselves. Now, the court said that limiting this ability equals censorship. Right? What the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act tried to do was, in actuality, censorship on corporations, labor unions, and other organizations. And they also kind of said here, as more of a justification, look, the candidate doesn't owe anything to that PAC, that group. There's no assumption that the donation is buying a favor from the candidate. So they have just as much right to free speech as an individual. And that is our bottom line here. Corporations' independent expenditures are also protected by the free speech clause of the First Amendment. So we can see that in Buckley versus Vallejo, it's that individual's protection that is protected by the First Amendment. In Citizens United, it is the corporation. So that is obviously a very controversial thing, right? Are corporations people? Should there be a difference between corporation spending and individual spending when it comes to free speech? That is the debate. This is a quote from the actual court ruling. They said, corporate funding of independent political broadcasts in elections cannot be limited. Speech is indispensable to a democracy, regardless if it comes from a person or a corporation. Now, as a result of Citizens United versus the FEC, we're going to see that now outside groups, soft money groups, are allowed to produce ads immediately before an election. And we're also going to see the rise in something called a super PAC. Super PACs are kind of what they sound like. They're very, very large PACs that can carry out unlimited independent expenditures. As long as I said a million times in this video, as long as they don't formally coordinate with a candidate's campaign. So they cannot be associated in any way, shape, or form with that campaign. They have to be independent of it. Now, this has kind of led to dark money, meaning that it's hard to trace where this money is coming from when super PACs are involved. And this dark money has created a lack of transparency about where that money originates, which is and has been quite controversial since the Supreme Court ruled in 2010. All right, guys, we are going to look more into Citizens United and Buckley versus Vallejo in class. I just wanted to introduce those concepts to you. So please make sure you write down any questions that you have. Remember, your goals were to describe the purpose of a PAC, compare PACs and super PACs, and describe the difference between soft money and hard money. So make sure to answer the verb, and I will talk to you guys in class. Have a great day.